Okay, let's dive in. We're talking about the Gobi Wall today.
Right. That huge structure, stretching across the Mongolian landscape.
Exactly. And for ages, like a lot of these ancient walls, the thinking was pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
Yeah, military. A big defensive barrier. Keep people out. Simple.
But maybe too simple, because this wall, it runs for hundreds of kilometers.
Oh, absolutely. Often lumped in with the sort of broader Great Wall idea, but always one of the more mysterious parts.
Its actual purpose, who built it, when, it was all a bit hazy.
Just this massive wall seemingly in the middle of nowhere. What was it really for?
Well, hold on to your hats, because there's this major new international study that's just, well, it's kind of turned everything upside down.
This is the one involving researchers from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
That's the one. And the National University of Mongolia and Yale University, too. A big collaboration.
And the way they approached it is really interesting.
Yeah? How so?
Well, they didn't just rely on one thing. They used a whole, toolkit. Remote sensing was a big part. Satellites, drones, looking from above.
Okay, the high-tech view.
But, and this is key, they didn't just do that. They combined it with serious field work. Boots on the ground.
Actually walking the line.
Walking the line, doing intensive surveys, and actual archaeological digs, getting their hands dirty.
Really? What did they find? Like artifacts?
Oh, yeah. Things like old coins, bits of wooden stakes that were probably part of the structure, metal objects, tangible evidence.
Wow. Okay, so all that work. What's the big headline? The surprise.
The Gobi Wall. It wasn't just a wall. Its main job wasn't simple defense. It was way more complex. A dynamic system, really, with multiple functions.
Multiple functions. Okay, and do we know who built this complex system?
Yes. The evidence points pretty clearly now. The main builders were the Xi Xia dynasty.
The Xi Xia. Okay, tell me more about them.
They were a powerful state, sometimes called the Chang'an Empire.
Yeah.
Existed from about 1038 to 1227 CE.
So medieval period, roughly.
Right. And this places the wall construction squarely in their time. It suggests the wall was a really important part of their, let's say, imperial strategy.
Strategy for what, though, if not just defense?
Well, think about Central Asia back then. Lots of movement, different groups, trade routes. The Shida needed to manage their frontier.
So it wasn't just about stopping a huge army.
Probably not just that. It seems more about controlling the whole border zone, who goes where, what moves through.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive, then. We're going to unpack these new findings.
Exactly. What were these other functions? How did the Shia actually use this thing?
And why does seeing it this way change how we think about, ancient empires and borders?
Because it forces us to look beyond the obvious interpretation of big wall equals defense.
Right. The evidence they've gathered, the location of force, the artifacts, it all points to something more nuanced.
Something designed for more than just blocking people out.
Okay, so if it wasn't primarily blocking access, what was it doing? You mentioned controlling movement, regulating trade.
Yeah, think of it less like a solid brick wall and more like a filter. Or maybe a control valve.
A filter? How so?
It wasn't necessarily meant to be completely impassable everywhere along its length. That would be, well, almost impossible in that environment.
Okay.
Instead, it seems designed to sort of channel movement, to direct people, caravans, maybe herds, towards specific points.
Like gates or checkpoints?
Exactly. Probably fortified gates, maybe associated with those forts they found.
Oh.
Points where the Xi state could monitor traffic.
So they could see who's coming and going.
Seeing who's coming and going, maybe levy taxes on trade goods, and generally just assert their authority over this huge, remote area.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense than just a barrier against everything. It's about administration, almost.
It's a tool of state control, consolidating their grip on the borderlands.
And the way they built it, the materials.
Yeah.
That supports this idea, too, right? You mentioned rammed earth.
Primarily, yes. Rammed earth construction, basically pounding layers of local soil very tightly together inside forms. It creates surprisingly durable walls.
But not just earth?
No, they also used stone where it was available, and wood too. The wood would have been precious out there.
Right. And the study talks about how the wall's path wasn't just a straight line.
Oh, absolutely not. This is where the ecological and spatial analysis gets really fascinating.
What did they find?
They showed the route was meticulously planned. It wasn't random at all. It was designed to use the natural landscape.
How? Like following ridges?
Following ridges, using mountain ranges or even sand dunes as natural barriers to incorporate into the line. but also, crucially, connecting points with scarce resources.
Scarce resources, you mean like water in the Gobi?
Exactly. Water sources, however small, would have been vital. And wood, too, for construction, for fuel for the garrisons.
So the wall's path is partly dictated by where you can find water and trees.
It seems very likely. The placement of the wall segments and the associated sites, like forts and garrisons, often correlates with proximity to these essential resources.
That's clever, really adaptive.
It shows an incredible understanding of the environment. They were leveraging the geography, using local materials efficiently, integrating natural obstacles. It minimized the effort and materials needed while maximizing the system's effectiveness.
So it's not just brute force engineering, it's intelligent design working with the landscape.
Precisely. The study gives specific examples like garrisons and fortifications near Karamandor Mountain.
Right, I saw the drone photos in the source material. You can really see how they're tucked in using the terrain.
They're not just plonked down randomly. They're sited to take advantage of the mountain itself as part of the whole defensive and control network.
So calling it just a wall really undersells it.
Hugely. It was an integrated infrastructure system designed to function effectively in a very challenging environment. A dynamic tool for governing the frontier.
And it wasn't only the Xi Xia who were active there, right? The study mentioned a longer history.
That's another key point. While the main phase of this particular wall system seems Xia, they found evidence of human activity in this specific border zone going way back.
How far back?
Some evidence potentially points to activity as early as the 2nd century BCE, and then intermittently right up through to the 19th century.
Wow. So this area was strategically important for a very long time.
Exactly. Layers of artifacts tell a story of enduring significance. The Xi Xia built heavily here, but they weren't the first or the last to recognize the importance of this zone.
It highlights how certain landscapes just remain strategically valuable across centuries, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, let's sort of zoom out again. Thinking about the bigger picture here. We've gone from simple defensive wall to complex, environmentally integrated control system. What's the main takeaway?
I think it gives us really critical insights into how ancient empires actually worked, especially on their fringes.
How so?
It shows the intricate relationship between the state, the environment they're trying to control, and the kind of infrastructure they build to do it, especially in tough places like the Gobi.
Right. It demonstrates a level of sophistication in adapting to local conditions that maybe we don't always appreciate.
Absolutely. These weren't just crude barriers. They were complex state technologies.
So when you picture the Gobi Wall now, you shouldn't just see a line on a map.
No. You should picture a system designed to manage people, funnel trade, oversee resources.
All while being cleverly built using the desert's own features and limited materials.
Yes. The genius wasn't just in the scale, but in the placement, the integration with geography, the focus on water and wood. That adaptability is key.
And this research, it really pushes back against some older ideas about frontiers, doesn't it?
It does. The idea that frontiers were always just simple lines between us and them. These findings suggest they were often much more complex zones of interaction, control, and adaptation. There's this deep connection between the environment, the structures built in it, and the state's goals.
It definitely makes you think differently. When you look at any big ancient structure, especially these long, linear ones.
Yeah, like walls or roads or canals, you start wondering, what else were they doing? What functions aren't immediately obvious?
So what does this all mean for you, listening? Well, if this huge wall, built centuries ago in a harsh desert, turns out to be far more than just a wall.
Serving complex roles in control, trade, resource management, all intricately tied to its environment.
Kind of makes you look at the infrastructure around us today differently, doesn't it?
Definitely. Our modern roads, networks, maybe even digital infrastructures, what are their hidden functions? What purposes are they serving that we haven't fully considered?
If an ancient wall wasn't just a wall, what else are we missing?
Something to ponder, for sure.